Hey, Frog Prince Rana here, and thank you for dropping by. First, a message for you two, and spoilers for the rest. This video will discuss what some people are using to mitigate the virus that is reminiscent of a Mexican beer. Thanks to old 52 guy for suggesting this, and why it is dumb. Now you may have noticed I have just a couple of videos on vaccine, its history, peer review, the debunked conspiracy with autism, and so on. One of the points I keep hearing from the Twitter mob has been, the vaccines are not FDA approved. Until recently, FDA has only granted emergency use approval of the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. This has always been a talking point for all the anti-vaxxers and a way to hold off getting the jab. However, this situation has changed last Monday when Pfizer became first COVID vaccine to gain full FDA approval. It goes without saying that this is something worth celebrating. We're talking about a vaccine created in record time that had 95% efficiency in trials and utilized mRNA for the first time ever. This was and continues to be a miracle of modern medicine.
FDA just giving full approval to Pfizer's COVID vaccine. It's the first vaccine to get that full approval, and in record time, too. That has critics asking if the process was rushed. Was it? Well, let's bring in Admiral Brett Giroir, former Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary, and of course, he was our testing czar. So tell us a little bit, sir, about what this moment means to get full approval.
Well, this is a very big moment in Operation Warp Speed history and the history of our vaccines, our fight against the pandemic. Prior to this, we had emergency use authorization. What that really meant is that the public health benefits outweighed the known and potential harms. What this says today is we know the benefits, we know the harms, and this vaccine is safe and effective, and every confidence can be given to that. Americans should feel very good, even better than they did yesterday, about getting the vaccine.
Yeah, what took so long?
Well, it is a complicated process, and I know there are many, many good professionals, incredible professionals at the FDA. I was acting commissioner. It does take a while because all the data is looked at in detail. You know, every page is turned, the facilities are inspected.
It's amazing how within the same interview, where Fox starts with, the process was rushed, to what took so long. There have already been several articles throwing doubts at the peer review process and the approval. But to be honest, we all knew it was coming. These anti-vaxxers would always find a reason or move the goalpost just to stand by their selfish decision. Selfish? Because we all live in a society. And when, instead of helping vulnerable people in our community, one chooses to swim upstream and can cause others to be infected. Now, this is not funny in any case. But when these anti-vaxxers do end up in the hospital, frankly speaking, they're in a pickle.
We know that our FDA has in many ways failed us by not allowing for the use of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, both of which are used around the world to reduce COVID hospitalizations and deaths.
This drug, ivermectin, has been called, at least by some doctors, a miracle drug when it comes to treating COVID-19. There's a good chance everyone listening at home has never heard of ivermectin because Google has gone about censoring any discussions, including discussions inside the halls of Congress about this drug from their platforms, including YouTube.
They seem to keep saying, like, the vaccination is the only answer, the only answer. And we now know from studies and also from the evidence that we saw of the use of ivermectin in India that it does work.
I don't know how many, 100,000 lives might have been saved if they had let the public and doctors talk about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and prescribe it without being called by a pharmacist as if they are doing something illegal.
The US regulator says it has received multiple reports of patients requiring hospitalization after self-medicating with a drug called Ivermectin, which is intended for veterinary use, simply because Ivermectin is a medication that is used to treat parasite infestations. In humans, this includes head lice, scabies, river blindness, whipworm and roundworm infection, and lymphatic filariasis. In veterinary medicine, it is used to prevent and treat heartworm and mites rash, among other indications. As I mentioned, it is sometimes used on humans, which is a much diluted mixture. But in search for a cure that is not a vaccine, these anti-vaxxers are actually going to veterinarians to get the medicine which is meant for a horse. In fact, it has got so worse, thanks to Fox and Facebook, that FDA actually tweeted out saying, "You're not a horse, you're not a cow. Seriously all, stop it." This crap show started again, thanks partially to Lancet, the same weekly peer-reviewed journal medicine journal that had once published now retracted paper by Andrew Wakefield, where the conclusion was vaccine causes autism. Well, a study published on 22nd of May in the Lancet used hospital records procured by a little-known data analytic company called Surgisphere, which provided patient data for 2 other high-profile COVID-19 papers, has come under withering online scrutiny from researchers. They have pointed out many red flags in the Lancet paper, including the astonishing number of patients involved and details about their demographic and prescribed dosing that seem impossible. Then the Lancet issued an express of concern saying, important scientific questions have been raised about data in the paper, and noting that an independent audit of the provenance and validity of the data has been commissioned by the authors not affiliated with Surgisphere and is ongoing, with results expected very shortly. A third COVID-19 study using Surgisphere data, first posted in early April. Surgisphere founder and CEO Sapan Desai and co-authors concludes that ivermectin, an antiparasitic drug, dramatically reduced mortality in COVID-19 patients. In Latin America, where ivermectin is widely available, that study had led government officials to authorize the drug, although with precaution, creating a surge in demand in several countries. Oddities also appear in the ivermectin study. A 6th of April preprint, co-authored by Patel, Desai and Mehra, along with David Granger of the University of Utah, used Surgisphere data reportedly collected at 169 hospitals around the world between 1st of January and 1st of March. It included 3 patients in Africa who received ivermectin, despite the fact that only 2 COVID-19 cases had been reported in all of Africa by 1st of March. After being inquired about the discrepancy, the authors posted a second, longer version of the manuscript on 19th of April, containing data collected between 1st of January and 31st of March. The new manuscript contained data on 704 COVID-19 patients treated with ivermectin and 704 controls in 169 hospitals on 3 continents. It reported that ivermectin reduced the need of mechanical ventilation by 65% and slashed the death rate by 83%. But the revision had other problems. For example, the data shown in a figure were widely different from those reported in the text. Ivermectin was screened in 2020 for activity against COVID-19. Laboratory tests suggested a weak effect on SARS-CoV-2 virus in a test tube, but did not seem feasible in humans as the doses needed would be large. However, small early trials suggested large effect on mortality. Researchers from the COC's project collaborated with the LSTM-based Cochrane Infection Disease Group (CIDG) to carry out a systematic review, published in the Cochrane Library, to explore the effects of ivermectin in preventing and treating COVID-19 infection. The review authors included 14 randomized control tests with 1,678 participants. Treatments of mild to moderate COVID-19 patients were investigated in 13 studies, comparing ivermectin with placebo and with no treatment in addition to comparable usual care in the study arms. Only one study investigated prevention of SARS-CoV-2 infection and compared ivermectin to no treatment. The review looked at the effects of ivermectin on the number of deaths, whether the patient's condition worsened or improved, and unwanted effects. The Cochrane review cannot confirm whether ivermectin administered in hospital or as an outpatient compared with placebo or usual care leads to more or fewer deaths after 1 month, whether it improved or worsened patient conditions, increases or decreases unwanted side effects, nor whether it increases or reduces negative COVID-19 test 7 days after treatment. Likewise, the review cannot confirm whether or not ivermectin prevents SARS-CoV-2 infection or reduces number of deaths after high-risk exposure. Main authors on the review said, the lack of good quality evidence on efficacy and safety of ivermectin arises from a study pool that consists mainly of small, inefficiently powered RCTs with overall limited quality regarding study design, conduct, and reporting. Current evidence does not support using ivermectin for treating or preventing of COVID-19 unless they are part of a well-designed randomized trials. See, this is the main difference of picking up any of the shelf medicine for animals and trying it out. A normal vaccine goes through a 3-phase process. During phase 1, small groups of people receive the trial vaccine. In phase 2, the clinical study is expanded and vaccine is given to people who have characteristics such as age and physical health similar to those for whom the new vaccine is intended. In phase 3, the vaccine is given to thousands of people and tested for efficacy and safety. Many vaccines undergo phase 4 formal ongoing studies after the vaccine is approved and licensed. Using a medicine usually used for horses and cows also means none of these anti-vaxxers have any idea about the dosage. Maybe this is the reason that in 2019, only 6 cases of ivermectin poisoning were called into the Alabama Poison Information Center. In 2020, that number doubled, with 12 cases being reported by the end of the year. Whereas now, nearly 8 months into 2021, that number had risen significantly to 21 cases. Common side effects for ivermectin includes itching and hives, dizziness, headache, nausea, diarrhea, and muscle pain. More serious adverse reaction associated with toxicity and possible ivermectin poisoning documented in clinical literature includes loss of consciousness, drowsiness, tremor, seizure, hypertension, vomiting, and coma. Another thing we hear from all the anti-vaxxers is, ivermectin works, but the big pharmas do not want people to know about it. The problem with that point is, 1. Vaccine is free in US, Europe and such, and 2. The only company that manufactures ivermectin do not make vaccine. So the logic dictates that if ivermectin was ideal for COVID, they should be pushing it really hard to make that sweet dough, while the manufacturer is actively asking people not to take the medicine to mitigate COVID. We can all hold our breath and hope that one day they all may realize their mistake and actually take the vaccine and stop complaining about it. Well, that's all for this video. If you think it's a worthwhile video to share and to ensure YouTube suggests it, please leave a like and even share it around. If you want to be super awesome, please consider subscribing so you can be updated with my new contents. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.
We are one.